Hello, and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Founders Podcast. Grateful that you're listening in. Grateful that you're joining with us. I'm here with my co-host, Matt Lamm. No Jordan Hansen today.
Yeah, we are Jordan-less today.
Jordan-less, broadcasting from the United Commercial Insurance studio. Give us a call, United Commercial Insurance. Big or small, we do it all. Okay, 208-229-8222, 208-229-8222. Okay. I'm going to jump into it. I want to introduce this week's guest. I'm really excited. We've been trying to get this person on for a while.
Busy guy,
right? Busy guy doing a lot of different things, and you'll find out about all those things. Today's guest, someone I've known for a while, part owner of many companies. I'm going to list him, and then hopefully he'll talk about his operations and what he does. Guest today is Renn Lamm. Renn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have on. So Renn does a lot of stuff. So Renn is the owner of Infinity Pools, part owner with a partner there since 2014. They build pools all over the state of Utah, of Idaho, Northwest area.
Yeah.
In addition to Infinity Pools, which is an incredible pool company, actually number 2 pool company that we've had on the podcast. Oddly enough. Yeah. So kind of a cool deal. But in addition to Infinity Pools, Renn has Renew Pool Plastering, Infinity Asset Leasing, and Leadfoot, which are 4 different companies, all that have something to do with one another. Very enterprising young man Renn is. Renn, this is an interesting story about Renn.
Before you get to the story, I was going to say, probably most important on that list, he's my brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there is some familiar relations here.
And that's probably his biggest claim.
One of his better accomplishments. As part of that, so I would go over to Matt's. So Matt and I were really good friends growing up.
Yep.
And Renn was nice to me. So I'm just going to say that because not all older brothers are always nice, but Renn was nice to me. And at the time he was dating his current wife.
Yep.
At the smaller house that we would live in, Matt and I would get bored because sometimes Sean would kick us off of like the Nintendo, so we had to go do other stuff. And I would be like walking by Renn's room, and he'd be on the phone for a long time. I'd be like, "Who's he talking to?" And Matt's like, "I don't know, just like I think his new wife." So I would go and pick up the phone in another room.
and listen?
And listen. Yeah, and I would listen.
See, I didn't know this.
No, you knew it. You knew it. And I'd be like, I'd start giggling. And you were the source of entertainment for like 2 hours.
Wow, that's a long.
So thank you, Renn, for doing that.
That's a long conversation.
You were on the phone for a long time. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I should have known. I was listening.
Yeah.
No, Renn's always been a good guy and somebody that I've looked up to physically, and in business and a lot of different things. So we're excited to hear from Renn. Renn, to get started for our listeners, can you describe what Infinity Pools is?
Yep.
And what you do for Infinity Pools, what your role is?
Yeah, so I've got a partner. I'm a 50% owner in Infinity Pools. My business partner is Jake Merrill. We basically run the day-to-day of the company. We started out as the 2 owners that did everything when we started out. And we'd actually worked for a different pool company, to give you a little bit of background on that. And we worked at that pool company, and it wasn't a great experience for either one of us. And we were there. We're both started about the same time, not too long after that company got started. And it was a rough 5-ish years, I think. We were both there. We both ended up leaving about the same time for different reasons. Same reason, but to go take different paths. Jake left and went into the medical recruiting field, and I just had to get away from it, and I took a different path, and we ended up meeting up about a year later, and here we are.
And it's history.
Yeah.
History that will be found out.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. So you've done a lot of different things in your life, and we're anxious to get going into that, but we like to go back. And you guys grew up in Idaho.
Yes.
In the valley.
Yep. Eagle, Idaho.
Eagle, Idaho.
Eagle, Idaho.
And what did you? I mean, tell me a little bit about your family. I know a decent amount, but kind of introduce what your childhood was like growing up in Eagle, Idaho.
Yeah, so we grew up in what's now the downtown. Before Eagle, those people familiar with Eagle, Idaho, now, we grew up back when Eagle was out in the middle of nowhere, Eagle, Idaho, in downtown Eagle, kind of pretty close to the elementary school that's there.
By Eagle Elementary?
Eagle Elementary School, yep. Not Eagle Hills. Eagle Hills is where the richer kids.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We were down
on the top of the hill.
The top of the hill.
Looking up to all those,
Yes.
That's
like
awesome.
Beverly Hills of Eagle.
Exactly,
It was.
So Eagle Elementary is like on the other side of the railroad.
Yeah. It was a little rougher.
And you're the oldest of?
So there's 4 boys.
4 boys.
I'm the oldest. Then we've got Russ, and then Sean, and then obviously Matt.
And then Matt,
the baby.
Yeah. And if you know anything about the Lambs, Lamm, they're all roughly 7 feet tall. I mean, like
give or take.
Give or take. I mean, always stood out above the crowd. Like Matt in all of our elementary school photos was always like the top of the pyramid.
The awkward one in the back.
Yeah, exactly. With all of us average height people in the middle. And so Renn was like, and so growing up in that kind of Eagle, that was a farming town at the time, I believe.
Yeah, it was nothing but farming going on there, and even through when I was in high school, I went to Centennial High School because Eagle High School didn't exist yet. So Eagle Road was a 2-lane road, and I'm feeling really old.
We're going way back.
Yeah, like stories you hear your grandparents talk about. I'm kind of having that feeling.
You're transitioning into that.
Yeah. But none of my friends ever wanted to come out and hang out at our house because I lived in the boonies.
Yeah.
In Eagle. So weekends were always, driving all the way into Meridian. That's where my Centennial way into Meridian.
Yeah.
And Meridian was still a lot of farmland too, but Centennial kind of had the reputation of the rich kid school at the time, and they were the new school, and so
when did you graduate?
In 95.
Oh, okay.
So
what jobs did you have growing up? I mean, looking back, was it all just for family, friends, or just different odds and end jobs?
No, I almost always had a job. It started out working with my dad. My dad was a custom home builder, and so we spent my brother Russ and I would usually spend weekends cleaning job sites for $5 an hour.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good at the time.
It's
I
not
bet.
bad.
It was
still pretty low.
Yeah.
For the amount of work you were doing, pretty low.
Yeah. Well, we probably still came out ahead.
Yeah.
My dad probably was a little bit behind on that one, even paying us $5 an hour for the work he got. But no, I started out cleaning up construction sites. And growing up, I always wanted to be a home builder, and I always wanted to work with my dad.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
So your dad, did he always have his own home construction building or company, or did he work for other people, or what?
I remember when he went out on his own, but he was always in the construction field. For most of my childhood, he was doing his own thing. He ran his own company, but he came up framing houses and doing finish work and that type of stuff, and then transitioned into starting his own company and building houses. So.
And so it was your idea to do that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and in high school, I don't know if they still have it, but metals class and woodworking and shop. I mean, those are the 2 classes that I looked forward to. The other classes I had to take.
Yeah.
Not math.
Yeah.
No, we'll get into that too. but no, I like building.
Yeah.
I like, taking something from raw materials or start and turning it into, something. And so I like that. My first job was my first job was the Sizzler.
Yeah, I was gonna say
no.
Sizzler
Wait, which
by the
Sizzler?
mall,
By
right?
the mall.
Oh yeah,
Sizzler by
that
the
just
mall.
went out.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
That I think
I'm
it
surprised
just
they
went
didn't
out.
let you know.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
should
I was
have.
gonna say.
They didn't give my picture that was.
No, right.
It must have
Wow,
been
you're
away.
going way into Boise for that.
Way
so
to
you
Boise.
were what a server or a busser? or-
Better. So I start out. I lasted 2 weeks.
Oh gosh, here we go.
So I got hired to bus tables. That was my job. Me and my buddy Mitch Ellard. We both played basketball together. We got a job there, busting tables. And within about a week, we were promoted to the salad bar.
That's fast.
Yeah, a week.
That's a high trajectory.
A week. A week. And so we're working the salad bar, making sure the vegetables are rotated, everything's full, clean. And then I had a friend of mine. He's older than me, but he was a manager at Evans Building Supply, which back in the time it was Evans. I think now it's True or Ace.
Different. I forget what it is now. It still says Evans on the building, but it's different owners. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ace is in there, but somebody else bought it. But.
right. So it's a construction supply warehouse.
Hardware, lumber.
everything.
Yeah, I don't know if they do lumber anymore, but they did.
But that's what I. So he heard that I was working at Sizzler, and he knew my dad. My dad bought all of his building material from him at the time, and somehow they got to talking, and he's like, well, I got a position. I think you'd like doing this more than the salad bar. And he was right. So I got a job there, and I worked there pretty much all through high school. When I was playing basketball, I would take time off, but it wasn't year-round basketball like it is now, and all the club sports are now. So I actually worked there quite a bit. So I had that job. I also had another job building cabinets, working at the I believe it was called Metric Industries, working for the Reeds.
Yeah.
At the Fun Factory, I believe is what it was called by all the guys our age. I include you in that as well.
Okay.
That was a sarcastic
Roughly.
name, though.
Yeah.
Not so
Sarcastic.
fun.
No.
Yeah.
And then I also had a small stint at Artec.
I just remembered that.
Yeah.
Scraping paint or ink off the floor.
Yeah, so my real job, where I had the real skill, was so Artec would print. I don't know if you've seen like the huge signs that they would hang in. I don't know if they still have them even, but Albertsons, and they just hang in the aisles, and it would have like Albertsons logo on it and whatever the deal of the week was, and there's just signs throughout all of them. So my job was to. The smart guy was up at the front. He made sure that all the printing stuff was laid out correct. The ink colors were all lined up. But as he printed it, it would come down the dryer. My job was to take it and flip it over and stack it.
Nice. Okay. So changed out the vegetables.
Was that harder than the salad bar? Or
Yeah.
About the same.
About the same.
About the same.
So during this time, and what was your motivation for work? Did you have to work because your parents were like, look, this is how you pay for whatever you want to do? Or were you motivated to buy a car, or we just enjoyed work anyway?
I don't really know. Probably gas money. I remember my dad, he bought us our first car. So it wasn't that. But growing up, when my brother and I were younger, we didn't have money.
Yeah.
It was we just didn't have money. Like things weren't like we weren't. I would never say we went without, but things were tight, and so I wanted to have my own money and be able to probably not be less of a burden, but just because I was young and selfish at that time, but just be able to do some things that I wanted to be able to do and be able to do it with my money.
Did your mom work?
She didn't originally, but she ended up going to school. I don't remember what. I think I was in middle school.
I think I was like 6 because I went to some of her classes with her at Boise State.
Yeah, I think she made us go to a class. Like I had to go to an art class. I don't know why. I don't know if it's bring
Just
your kid
with
to art
her?
day.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
went-
you were
I went 'cause there was
printing
no
off.
babysitter.
You were printing off ink. I mean, you were an art specialist at the time.
It was.
You could have helped teach the class.
So I think it was around middle school. She got her teaching degree and started teaching. And she got her teaching degree because construction, right? It's pretty cyclical. There's good years and there's bad years.
Right.
And she went back to school and got that because she was trying to help my dad keep everything level when things were slow, that her income was coming in to keep, you know. I remember right before college, I don't think my dad built a house that entire year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What year was that? So that was in 95.
90, yeah, like 95, 96. And maybe it was a year or two before that, but, or maybe it was one house he built, but there wasn't a lot. I believe interest rates were high at the time. Things were just slow here on home construction. And I just remember that because I ended up getting a grant to go to school at Idaho State that semester, and it was they were like kind of joking around like, oh, it's good we had a bad year because now you get to go to college. You don't have to worry about paying for it because we made so little that you qualified for a grant. But
so I'm curious what your dad talked to you when you were growing up. Was it, hey, Renn, you and me all the way, go to college, get whatever education you need, but come back and we're just going to build a home building empire? I mean, did he always kind of groom you for that or talk to you about it? Or was there any communication as to what you?
It was a little bit of the two. It was you can come work. So my dad didn't graduate college. So, and I think most parents don't want their kids to do what they do. They want them to go find something that's a little bit better than what they do. However you want to quantify or qualify better. But he's like, you do not want to do this. And if you do want to do this, you have to go get your degree first, and then you can come back and you can work with me. And at the time, my dad was starting to have some decent success. I mean, they were doing pretty well at the time, and I just wanted to go work for him. And I should probably lay out there that I hate school. I don't like college. I'm anti-college, unless you're going to school for a purpose or a degree. But I'm not a big fan of going to school to go try and figure out what it is that you're going to go do or what you're going to.
That's interesting. We have a debate, Jordan and I do all the time, because the value anymore, the cost, I guess, benefit analysis of school is changing so much.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure what you tell your kids or if that's exactly what you tell your kids, but so many times, I mean, you definitely don't need college to be successful.
Right.
But, if you're going to be an engineer or a doctor or whatever, you probably do need that.
Yeah, and I think, and maybe this is just me personally, but I think the college degree has been watered down. Mm-hmm. I think, years ago, I think that not many people had, like if you had a college degree, that really separated you from,
everybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like, people that I've hired to work for my company, there's a couple positions, but for the most part, I actually prefer you don't. And I would rather have you come to me with a ton of experience than a piece of paper that says I went to college for the last 4 years.
That you brought your kids to art class with you.
Art class,
right?
Right.
So that's interesting. I never knew that you were planning or seriously planning on joining your dad.
Yeah, that was it. And the construction thing was always like, that's houses, whatever. It just happened to be that's what he was doing. So
could you have worked with your dad? I mean, looking back, would that have been a difficult? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think I probably could have. It never happened, so it's easy to speculate and say, yeah, I could have done that. Like our relationship would have been fine.
Yeah. You seemed really confident in that answer. You seemed like very, maybe.
Yeah, it could have worked.
I mean, your dad's a person of few words, right?
Yeah, and my dad's tough, and my dad's a hard worker.
Right.
My dad has always. I remember one time as I don't even know when it was, but something had to be done on a project, and he was coming, and he was the one that was doing it. I might have been finished work on one of his own houses he was building. I don't know what it was, but I remember him like leaving before we were up and not coming home until after we were in bed. And I just remember I saw that, and I understood that he was doing like whatever it took. And I remember putting a note on the garage door because I knew I wasn't going to see him before he got home that night. And I don't even remember what it said, but somewhere along the lines of it. I just want you to know that I see what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing for our family, because it couldn't be easy to get up that early and come home that late that many days in a row. And it wasn't he was going and sitting in an office, right, and just putting in time. It was physical work that he was doing at the time. So I don't know why I remember that, but I remember it distinctly.
Wow! Shout out to younger Renn, very thoughtful.
every once in a while, it didn't happen
every now and then, but younger Renn was like that.
Was I alive then?
You were alive. You were alive.
My dad was also working, but also putting up with me. So
a lot to deal with.
That note should have been a little longer.
Should have been.
Yeah. Okay, so let's walk through. So going back, you're graduating high school.
Yeah.
Did you have a future in basketball?
No. I mean, let's be honest.
You didn't. You didn't want to play it.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I went and visited a couple colleges. I had an offer to go play junior college basketball at Lane Community College in Oregon.
Okay. Where is that?
I believe Eugene.
Okay. University of Oregon.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I believe that's where it's at. And then I did the visits. The coach was calling me. Let's do it. And then I decided, no, I'm going to go on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
My whole entire life, I said I wasn't going on a mission.
Really?
Yeah. That wasn't.
I mean, the culture at the time you were growing up was very much you do a church mission when you graduate high school.
Right.
But you were at the time undecided.
I wasn't even undecided.
You were decided against it.
Decided against. I was 100% decided I wasn't going to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then so then I decided I was going. So I decided I was going to not play basketball, go to Idaho State University, go live away from home for a while. And my roommate at the time was also a high school basketball player. He played with me, Mark Cleverly. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I know Mark.
Shout out to Mark.
Shout out to Mark.
Yep.
Maybe we can get him on the pod sometime.
Yeah,
maybe.
You should. He'd be a great get. So I went and lived with him. He turned his papers in he was interested in going on a mission, and I around that time was like, I don't have any. I'm in Pocatello.
Why not?
Right?
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
What else is going on?
Yeah, it's not going to get any worse.
That's saying a lot, because Pocatello, we're like smaller and worse than Eagle. I mean, Eagle was pretty, but I guess Eagle was up and coming at the time in '96.
Yeah,
or so.
I mean, we had just gotten the Albertsons in '96, so things were happening.
Way better than Pocatello. Pocatello is not a great. In fact, if anybody of our dozens and dozens of listeners want to come to Idaho, Pocatello is roughly I would say close to the armpit of Idaho.
But if you're a listener in Pocatello,
it's not. It's
we
great.
love Pocatello.
It's a great place. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Every time I pass through, love it.
Love it.
To Pocatello and Chubbuck's defense, gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Gotten a lot better since '96 when Renn, the younger, more thoughtful Renn, was living there.
So it's understandable that he may want to leave.
I get that. So you're going on mission.
Yeah. So ended up going to Santiago, Chile, learning Spanish.
Yep.
And that is probably, I mean, there's obviously there's life lessons that come from that, but there's a lot of like real world application in that. And I mean, learning language, and some connections that I didn't know were connections at the time that helped me get to where I am now.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, Spanish in the construction industry obviously can take you a long way.
it does. My business partner also speaks Spanish, and if it wasn't for that, I don't think we would be, may still be doing the same thing, but not. I just see a lot of other owners and competitors, and I mean, we deal with a lot of friendly competitors, and that don't speak Spanish, and I don't know how they do it. We have guys that try and speak English. We've got guys that run jobs that on our employees that don't speak Spanish, and it's yes, there's technology, and yes, you can send text in Spanish and have it translated, and it gets to them. But there's so much slang that's used, and it doesn't really work.
So you went to Chile. I went on my mission to Argentina, which is right next to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not friends.
No, oddly enough,
Right,
like,
friends.
yeah, not just not friends, but like do not like each other. And I didn't understand it. I speak differently than you would.
You do. You're a little higher class, right?
I am a little higher class. Yeah. So I would be the Eagle Hills looking down on you guys over there. The one thing, and we can keep going. The one thing I remember about that is I had a Chilean companion.
Yep.
And he had a map of South America in like a journal thing.
Yeah.
And near the bottom of South America is Patagonia. It's like frozen tundra essentially,
Yep.
right? And so on his map, the Chilean portion like would go straight down the coastline essentially and then cut in to Argentina and go down. So they claim like the bottom. And then I had a journal with the map, but it was an Argentina map. And it did the opposite. It like went down the border of Chile and Argentina and then cut across Chile. And then I was like, dude, who's right here?
Right.
And he's like, definitely not Argentina's. Like those guys will, and he said some whatever.
Did you settle it?
I think it was just nobody cared.
Oh, okay.
I think they all were just like it was basically a nod and a wink. That's like, look, nobody cares about that, so we can both claim it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So okay, so you serve your mission, you get back, and you're ready to go into work to business with your dad, or you're going back to school.
Yeah. So I came home, and the aforementioned Amy McDonough.
Ah, that's right. That's where I come in the story.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
this is where you come in.
Okay.
Was happened to be in Boise the weekend that I came. She was away at school. Happened to be in Boise the weekend that I was home. I knew her from high school. We went to high school together, but we didn't never really date in high school. She was a year younger than me. So ran into each other. Rest is history. Watched a couple episodes of Survivor over the years with Brandon
definitely.
and Matt.
So no, Survivor was big.
Yeah,
When I was graduating high school, Survivor was big.
I remember you at my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I think it was season 1, I want to say. Like the original season.
And that's crazy because we're on like season 280.
And,
At least.
43. They just did 43.
At least.
Seriously.
But they do 2 a year. So it's been 20 plus years. Yeah. And there was a little break with COVID, but yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
I was big into Survivor the first like 3 or 4 seasons.
You're not anymore?
We should get you back.
I haven't
We
seen
need you
it.
back.
I haven't seen it since. I probably,
Brandon.
I haven't.
Brandon.
And that's a discredit to me.
It is.
Okay, I get that. But no, I remember that. That was probably exactly 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I met her. We ended up getting married, and she had a scholarship to a school in Utah that I hate.
Okay.
I won't say which one.
All right, one of them.
Yeah, one of
Right.
them.
Okay.
And so I follow her down there. I go to school at the same time. So I've got my whole semester at Idaho State by this point.
Okay.
I go to UVSC at the time.
Utah Valley State College.
State College, not a university yet.
It's a university now.
Biggest university in Utah now.
Yeah.
UVSC?
It was UVSC.
Now
yeah.
it is what?
UVU. Utah
UVU.
Valley
Gotcha.
University.
Okay.
Yeah, so I enroll there. That's where the
But
people
that's not the school you hate.
No, not
Okay.
not the school that I hate.
Gotcha.
But the people that can't get into the school that I hate,
Go there.
yeah, roll over into that school.
So you're consistently looking up at everybody else.
My whole life.
Even though you're taller than everybody, you're still looking up at the higher, whatever, the upper echelons
Can't
of
ever
society.
quite get there.
Right.
It's the carrot that's in front of me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always a blue chip on your shoulder.
Always. So yeah, so we're down there.
Was it still the plan to go into construction with your dad? I mean, what was your guiding for? Were you just kind of wherever life took you?
At this point, my wife's at school. It's paid for. So and at this point, I didn't have such a strong opinion on school at the time. And she's going to school. I might as well go down and go to school. My dad said that if I want to work for him, I've got to get my degree. So I was going to school there, just doing my general stuff, getting that out of the way. And I worked for a title company part-time while I was a runner for the title company. And it was an easy job, and did that until she graduated. And so that's 2 years later. We're back in Boise at this point because I wanted to come back to Idaho.
You didn't want to stay in Utah.
No.
Okay.
You said it, I didn't.
All right. Okay. Because there's some foreshadowing there.
There's some foreshadowing there. So I wanted out. I wanted back here, Boise. And so we come back, and I get a job at RC Willey. So RC Willey, and I'm still finishing up school at the time my wife's done. She's graduated. She's got a decent job. I'm working at RC Willey, still going to school. And I think partway, even while I was at RC Willey, I'm like, I'm done with the whole school thing.
You didn't like it.
No, I didn't. And I just didn't want to. And it's at this point, I think, in my life where I start, like, I want to be able to make it without saying I have a college degree.
Whoa. So it's like stick it to everybody else.
Yeah. And
Just because, or what?
Yeah,
Just because people said you couldn't do it?
Yeah, and I think I'm really stubborn. If somebody tells me, like, I have to do something this way, or I won't, even if I was going to go do that thing on my own, and somebody says you need to go do this, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not.
I'm sure your kids love that. I'm sure you love that attribute in your kids.
I
right?
do, and one or two of them may have the exact same
That's
one.
hilarious. So even though it's in your best interest, if somebody pointed it out and it's their opinion you should do it, you're like, nope. Get out. I'm out.
As soon as you tell me to go do that thing, depending on what it is, I may still go do it, but I'm fighting it internally the whole entire time.
So I know we're not there yet.
Yep.
But with Boise State, so you were at RC Willey. How many years after? Because you still were at Boise State, still, like, even after RC Willey, right? So later on, Boise State still came into the mix.
So I'm at So
I don't want to fast forward too far. We'll come back, but I just want to stay with Boise State in college.
Yeah, I was at Boise State, and
We had a class, maybe not together, but I had it maybe one semester, and you had it the next, or something like that.
You probably had it the semester before.
Yeah,
I did, even though he's
8 years.
8 years younger. That tells you a little bit about my college.
Kind of like
experience.
piecing it together there.
Right.
One of those classes was Business Statistics 208, right? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, it was 207 and 208.
Yeah.
So
you didn't graduate.
Wait a minute.
So
You tell this story.
all right.
Okay.
I'm at Boise State for my. This is jumping ahead a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm at. We should probably back up just a little bit.
You
Okay.
can back up. We're
We're gonna back
Put it
up
on
just a
hold.
little bit. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm getting here.
All right.
I know what.
Don't spoil it.
No,
Okay.
I know what he's going after. But while I'm at RC Willey, I've got so Matt here and Sean are both working at a vinyl fence
Yeah,
company.
it was our summertime job.
Summertime job. They're working there, And for some reason, I don't know what it was, the guy that I was working with, we're like, we should do that too. Never put a fence in my life. Never. And
did you see a career at RC Willie?
No. That was just while I was going to school. That was until, and then at this point too, I was kind of getting to the point and realization that I wasn't going to work for my dad. That wasn't going to happen.
I could see with your dad telling you what to do and you fighting against that, it being a difficult equation to get through.
There's probably a lot of reasons that things don't work out the way you want them to work in life, and that's probably one of those things.
So this is fascinating that you guys just said, let's just go do, I mean, because at the time, I think is what, 2005? 2004?
Yeah, it's probably, we're 2004.
And so at the time, I know, if I remember right, the housing market was really ramping up.
It was getting crazy. It hadn't gotten crazy yet, but it was right there, ready to take off. Unbeknownst to myself, I don't know if anybody else could tell that things were starting to get crazy.
So you and a coworker were sitting down on the couch when you should have been selling couches and stuff.
Delivering.
Oh, you were doing delivery. You weren't selling.
Smart enough to sell.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So that's fascinating.
Yeah. So we let's.
Was Russ working there at the time?
Yeah, Russ was there as well.
Not at RC Willie, but at the fence company.
Yes, all three of my brothers were working at this fence company, and I probably my fault that I have is like I look at people and I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. Whether or not that's true, but in my mind, like if they can do that, why wouldn't I be able to do that?
Because you're just as capable, or because they're not as smart, or like what was your thinking behind?
Yes,
all of that.
Yeah, I think you kind of like it all, or you see the way they're doing something like I can do it better than that, or that's not how I would do it, and I think this way would work better. But I knew I always wanted to be, and when I say I want to work with my dad is because I wanted, like in my mind, that's my own thing, right? I'm an entrepreneur. If I'm working, I didn't want to go work and be an employee for my dad. I wanted to go run the company with my dad. And I've always wanted, I've never wanted, while I was doing these jobs that we've talked about, I always wanted to be the guy that owned the company while I was there. I'm like, I don't want to be changing out the vegetables on the salad bar. I don't want to be flipping the signs when they come down the dryer. I want to be the guy that owns the company that's doing all this.
Why did you have that thought? I mean, where did that come from?
I don't really think it was anything my parents ever did or said, but thinking about this, knowing I was going to talk to you guys, I was kind of thinking about what it was. But I remember when I was in the 3rd grade at Eagle Elementary, looking up at Eagle Hills,
carrying around an empty bowl, hungry, starving.
But so there was a I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a little grocery store called the IGA in downtown Eagle. It's kind of across the street from where the Subway is now.
Okay.
But anyway, there's this little store there, and they had this stand set up, and they were selling Big League Chew, right?
Okay.
Grape Big League Chew.
Okay.
And they were selling it. Normally, it was $1.50 for a pouch of it, and I'm guessing it was old. And they were clearing it out.
Oh, cool. Well, if it's available to the lesser thans of Eagle Elementary, it has to be expired.
Right. It has to be, looking back, right?
You're not getting the new stuff.
I thought I was just getting a good deal.
Yeah.
But so I think I bought three pouches of it, take it to school, and I knew that it was selling for $1.50. So I took it to school and sold it to my friends for $1.50, and they all bought it. And so then I went back with I doubled my money. So then I went and I bought. I mean, my business plan was horrible because I didn't have a supply, right? I bought up everything they had
More
left.
expired gum.
Right. And I took it back, and they bought it all again. I'm like, that was easy, but my supply ran out.
Yeah.
But I knew, like, there's, like, I just, like, that whole side of it, like, using my brain to make money and knowing that there was I don't know how I knew that. I just knew that it was normally $1.50 and I could get it for half price. And I knew I had friends that were as dumb as I was that would buy it. And I think like that, like, and then working and having to do the type of jobs that I did, I can't do this. I'm a horrible employee. Like I can't do this. I need freedom. For me personally, when I had the hourly jobs, I just felt like I was in prison and I was just trading time for money. And I'm like, I only have so much time. And there's just that ceiling, and I didn't want a ceiling. I didn't want to be held back.
That's interesting because a number of people that come on, they're either forced into it or they've been looking forward to it their whole lives. And it's interesting that you, clearly knew from the get-go that being an employee wouldn't work for you, wouldn't lead you to any form of happiness.
Right. And it didn't. Like I just trading time for money, and you only have so much time.
Is that what you tell your kids?
I haven't really got into that yet with my kids. I should probably communicate with them a little bit more about this. I'm also afraid that I'm going to push them into something that I want them to do that they don't necessarily want to do. And I want to help steer them, but I don't want them to ever look back at me and say, why have any resentment towards whatever it is they choose to go and do. And I should talk to him about it more than what I do, but like my oldest son right now works for me. I tried to help him a few years back. He was in high school, and I helped him set up his own company. Like I did for him what I wish somebody would have done for me, and he didn't really do anything with it. Yeah. And he could have. And he was in high school. Like I expected him to know how to run a company in high school without ever teaching him how to run a company. So I think I have a lot of the fault in that, but if nothing else, I hope he got a taste of what it is, whether he likes it or doesn't like it. Whatever he wants to do is, whether he wants to own his own company, keep working for me, go find another job, whatever that is, I just want them to find out what it is that they like. And I think there's so much pressure on kids to go to high school, graduate high school, go to college, graduate college, and then hopefully you found something in college courses that interest you. But I would much rather have my kids go work at 10 different places in something that they like and something that interests them, and start narrowing it down to what it is that you like and what can I do to make money at that thing. And I think there's too much emphasis put on how much money can I make doing that thing, instead of, am I happy? The guy that's crying himself, or crying in his Lamborghini, right? Miserable, but he's got the Lamborghini. I'm just a point in my life where I'm 46 years old. I have a grandson, and I think that your perspective just starts to change. And you guys are younger than me, and I feel like I'm getting more into I was listening to a podcast 2 days ago, and he talks about your wisdom years. You go out, you figure what you want to do. You're young, you've got the horsepower, you've got the energy, and you're putting it all into it, whatever it is that thing is that you're doing. And then at some point, you've got experience now, right? At whatever it is you're doing, you've got the experience, and you've learned, and now you've got this wisdom. What am I going to do with the experiences and the wisdom that I have? That there's no substitution for that. You have to go out and you have to spend the time, and you can't. There's no cheating that, right? And so at this point, looking back, and it's easy to say when you're at this age, looking back, and things are obviously they're not winding down. I'm not at that point where I'm ready to retire or anything. But I just life goes by so quick. I mean, to think that I'm at the age that I am, that I've got a grandson. I mean, things start to, like, your perspective just really starts to change on what used to be important and what isn't important. And we can talk about that. And I can tell my son what that is, but until he's had the experience, it's not going to matter. You got to experience it. You can't be taught and told those things. So I'd like to help guide him, but at the same time, I don't want to force him into.
Yeah,
anything.
No, that was deep and really impressive stuff. And before we get too much into the wisdom Renn, let's go into the young, dumber Renn.
Oh, there's plenty of that.
When you said, "Hey, I could start a fencing company."
Yeah.
So it was just all let's just partner up and go for it, right?
We did. We partnered up. We went for it. We'd go deliver furniture. So at RC Willey, they load your truck up at the beginning of the day. You go deliver furniture. When your truck is empty, you're done. So the faster you do it, the more money you make, which that appealed to me a little bit, because I wasn't just trading time for money at that point, because I could work faster, harder, and make more money. And so we'd go work as fast as we could to get the truck empty, and then we'd go install fence in the afternoons till dark.
Was YouTube around then? No. I mean, how did you learn how to install fence? Was it like, here's a pole, dig a hole, or I mean, were the fences straight and you got business?
Did Russ teach you, or
there may have been some moonlighting going on at the time from my brothers that had some experience.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so you drew on other people's experience. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And at some point, not too long after we got started, Russ came over and started. I don't know if he left that fence company to come work for us, or if there was something in between. But he came over.
I don't remember.
He came over. We end up getting a SBA loan.
Okay.
And we left. And here's the thing: RC Willey. So as a delivery driver, you get paid commission. It wasn't just an hourly deal, and we had arguably the best route, and so we were making good money for, when I started doing delivery, at that point I quit going to school, so I was just delivering furniture and installing fence. So and so it was hard. So we make that leap, right? I've listened to your podcast, talked to other entrepreneurs. Like I've listened to you, Brandon, give your opinion on it. But until you are ready to make that leap and leave the safety net of your paying job behind you, there's something scary and rewarding about that all at the same time. And we had to make that decision. We couldn't. It was either keep delivering furniture or go out and try this new thing. And we both decided we're going to go do this and make it work. We hired my brother Russ. He was our first employee. While we were getting up and running, myself and my business partner weren't taking any pay, no salary, no nothing.
What did your wife say? I mean, was she worried at all?
Oh yeah. So give you a quick backstory. My wife's dad, my father-in-law, worked for the IRS for 30 plus years. His only job. And he brought home a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Safety.
Same amount. Safety. And my wife is wired 100% that way. And for me, which is great for him, and that worked well for them. They were great with that. And I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I cannot do that, and I'm sorry, but I won't do it. Like, if you want me to be miserable, I will do that, but I don't think you want me to be miserable. So it was a big deal, and did that. And I believe we started that in 2003. By 2006, and we had pretty steady. Actually, we had pretty insane growth. We started out just doing vinyl fence. We ended up getting into every type of fence. We did decks. We did patio covers. We had a metal fabrication shop.
In 3 years.
We were fabricating our own wrought iron.
What was the name of the company?
It was a TVT fence.
And that stood for, was it the Vinyl Touch or what? Okay, there you go. Because I remember a number of TVTs and I forget which one it was. The Vinyl Touch.
The Vinyl Touch.
That was a successful fencing company though. The way I remember back on it.
Hold on before we get into that. I want to ask. So you said you got an SBA loan.
Yep.
Where did that fall in the timeline? I mean, did you just put up some of your money to get started? Like, where did you get how'd you pay for inventory to do these fence jobs?
So Pete and I both had, my business partner had some money. And I also believe that in the beginning, we would take a 50% down deposit when we got started. So that would generally pay for all the materials when you get ready to do the job. And then the balance due on completion was your profit. And so I believe that was the main way that we were able to get started using some of our own money. And then we didn't want to buy from local suppliers anymore because a lot of the suppliers also installed. So we were, helping our competition out. And so we got the SBA loan and started bringing in our own material from Pennsylvania by the truckload, and we'd fabricate it in our shop. And we got to the point where we were fabricating everything. And I think it's interesting, Brandon, that was around, like, I had known you at that point for probably 5, 6, 7 years at that. I mean, I knew your family forever, but it's interesting to hear you say that it was a successful, because on the outside, I think looking in, it was, right?
So looking back,
the
time I remember, I got back from my mission around 2004.
Yeah.
And Renn's already a tall guy, but he was like rolling around in a Hummer.
Yeah, big.
You know what I mean? And he had all these employees, and he had a little shop on Meridian Road right by a fast food. Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of activity going on. And so from my outlook of it was like, wow, this thing's going, and it's going really well. I mean, there was a lot of activity going on with that company.
There was. And at the time too, like, you think that success is because you're making good decisions and you're smart, and at least in mine, I probably overvalued what we were doing as owners. Like, I thought we had it figured out. I thought that's how always, and we were making money. We weren't going backwards, but we were making money. But I also, being young, I was 26, I think, at the time. And we were basically taking orders, right? Construction was booming. We were doing fences for all the big developments. We'd do all the perimeter fencing around developments before they'd go in. We did a bunch of residential. And it, like, if you could fog a mirror, you could make some money in that time. And banks were handing out money.
Really?
Yeah. I had a friend that came to me that worked for a bank, and he's like, just fill out this piece of paper and you can have $50,000
for a business loan.
No, personal. Just like anybody could have that. And which leads to 2008, and banks were just handing out money. It was you didn't unsecured. You could write in. I mean, I think I don't even remember who filled out the piece of paper, but anyway, you're just getting money handed to you. And so it was. I remember sitting in a class at Boise State not too long after that, and somebody came in to talk to our business class. And this is probably 2009, 2010, and he's like, it was the land of milk and honey. Like, if you couldn't make money in that time, There was something wrong with you. And so we were making money, but we were also spending money. And I, being naive, I thought that's always how it was. It was my first company I've ever owned. Things are going well. I didn't understand that there were cycles. I thought you just go do this and that's how it's always going to be. Fast forward to 2008 and everything just shuts off. We went from really busy to nothing going on at all. And tried to scramble and make some things happen at the end. I mean, we end up going down, and I had like all my vehicles repossessed. End up filing personal bankruptcy at 27 probably, and at that point, looking back on it, I'd never really failed at anything. Like, I'm not saying I wanted everything, but I'd never had a real failure. And to fail at something like that not only affects me, but affects I had 3 brothers working for me at the time. I think all 3 of you were there.
I don't know if Sean was. I don't think Sean was.
Well, throughout.
Yeah.
But
at some point we all worked together, which is tough. Family business and family in there. And then I'm the oldest one. I feel like I'm responsible to make sure that they all have a soft landing and that there's nothing going on. Like there's no way to go doing what we were doing. There was no way that we could see or figure out to keep making money. And, so to fail at that and have to file bankruptcy, that my wife had nothing, she didn't have anything to do with it, right? It was, she wasn't involved in the decision-making process that led us there. And she didn't want to do it in the first place, right? She wanted me to have the 9 to 5. So it's real humbling experience to sit in front of a bankruptcy judge, and to have to take my wife has to go because it's Idaho, we're a joint property state, so she also had to file bankruptcy, so I lost my house. I've got 2 kids. I'm getting served judgments like weekly. A new judgment would come. Somebody comes and knocks on my door. My wife doesn't even want to answer the door anymore, right? And it's usually another judgment. Here you go. Here's another one.
But just because of all your creditors at the time.
Yeah. We had
the business, was it personally guaranteed or was it an LLC, or how did you guys set that?
It was all at the time, because we were so new, everything was personally guaranteed. Even though it was an LLC, we were an LLC, I think we were filing as an S Corp, and everything's still personally guaranteed because we were so new that they still wanted personal guarantees on everything. So, we had all of our trucks that we had gone.
Hummer?
That was gone. I got rid of that before we got to that point. I only had the Hummer for a short period of time.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
So what was your relationship with your business partner at the time? I mean, this is fascinating to me because that is a stressful time. I mean, I don't know how much more stressful you can get at a young stage in your life than what you're going through at that time.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for anyone. Good learning experience looking back on it, but it was awful. My relationship with my business partner, we were like scrambling and trying to do, because there was still ways to get money. We thought if we could just get more money, that we'd be able to survive the downturn.
Loans.
We didn't know that it was going to last for as many years as it did, and so we're scrambling. I'm actually lending him money that I had to keep his credit up so that he can get loans. And then he ended up taking some of that money and taking his family to Disneyland with it while tanking his credit, which once your credit's gone, you're not getting loans.
Yeah.
And so it got bad. And if I could give one piece of advice to anybody, it's before you pay anybody else, pay your taxes.
Pay the government.
Pay the government. You cannot get out of that. So even though you file bankruptcy, you still have taxes. And we had someone that handled our finances, bookkeeper. My business partner and I were so dumb that we didn't know that vendors were being paid.
Weren't being paid?
Were being paid,
okay.
But taxes were not.
Oh.
And in her defense, she's just trying to keep the business, like she's thinking too that if I, keep the vendor satisfied, we'll be able to get material and we'll be able to keep doing jobs. And so it was some state and some federal that wasn't paid. And so even though, you file bankruptcy and you get off under that, I still had this.
Was it the sales tax on the completed operations that you guys put in?
Sales tax.
That typically would be paid at a quarterly or monthly basis.
Correct.
Had not been.
And you can't take that amount and say with my business partner and say, I'm going to take half of it and you take the other half. We are both responsible for that total amount until it's paid in full. And he decided to go into paramedic school. So he's not making any money. He's doing that. So, and I want to get out from underneath it. So I just have to start paying on it to get out. Wow. And so I did. And he paid some of it, but I ended up paying a majority of it to be able to get out. And
no resentment?
No, I mean, at the time there was some, but I made mistakes. Like it wasn't 100% on him and I was blameless, but it was tough. And the tougher part though is, so I quit making payments on my house. When you quit making payments on your house, they foreclose on you. But because the housing crisis was going on, they were trying to do loan modifications, trying to do whatever to try and keep you in your house. But it's hard to stay in your house when you've got virtually zero income. And so I remember we had a foreclosure date, and that was the day that they were supposed to come kick us out of the house, right? The sheriff comes and says, you got to go. And the date came and went and nothing happened. Like we were like, all right, any day it's going to happen. We actually end up staying in that house for 4 years.
Oh gosh. Without
making a single payment. And I had friends that were bailing. Like as soon as they stopped making, people that were my age that were, and even older, maybe a little bit younger, but at the time when everything just shut off, everybody was panicking. And I had friends on my street that just hit the eject button and left and went and moved back in with parents, with their families. Everyone was just doing everything they could.
Those homes sat there
forever,
just growing weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do anything with them. And I remember, like, I'm just going to hold on. Like, I'm not, like, when they come in, it's going to be a horrible day, but I can live here for free till that day happens, or I can go move in with my in-laws or my parents, and nobody wants to do that.
How stressful would that have been, just kind of living on the knife's edge all the time? Yeah.
It was a stressful 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years. And it was tough, and tough on my wife, tough on, like, I think I had 3 kids at the time. So it was a rough go.
So that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Right. Looking back, what would you have done different? I mean, you have a partner, you have all these things going on. You had milk and honey were flowing all the time. I mean, do you still wish you had that company?
No.
100% no.
100% no. And the reason I wouldn't change anything either. Like, as miserable as that was and as hard as it was, like, I wouldn't change it. Like, I think too often we we don't want the hard times, right? We want the easy path, and life's, feels easier and more enjoyable when those horrible things don't come. And like I've learned from that time in my life that like there's really not anything business related. Obviously there's health stuff that could still pop up and happen and things that are horrible, but there's not really anything business wise that I think that I could possibly face that are worse than that. Like I've been to the bottom. I know what the bottom looks like. I've experienced it. Like there's nothing going forward that is going to compare to that time in my life. And I'm glad that I went through it. And it taught me when I started doing what I'm doing now that like it's going to be okay. And I'm not going to make those same mistakes. You asked me what mistakes? Like I know I know where my company is financially. I know where money's being spent. I know everything that goes on, and I'm risky. I like risk, and I think that's where the money's made. But I also like calculated and smart risk. I don't like gambling. I don't gamble, but I think that there's risks that are out there, and there's risks worth taking, and like that. Those don't bother me, and I know from mistakes I made in the past, like I can't do that, because if I do that, it's got the propensity to lead me down this path, and these are the things that could happen, and I'm not going back to those things. So I'm not doing that this time.
And you made it through, and your marriage made it through, right? I mean, Amy had to have been stressed that entire time, but she never said, "I told you so."
No, she never said. I'm sure she probably felt it.
Yeah.
She never said, "I told you so." And she was, like the worst part was walking into so when you file bankruptcy, you walk into this room with 30 other people that have filed bankruptcy on your day at your time. I'm sure this happens every hour on the hour. So and you're just hearing these people and their horrible stories, and you're sitting there with your wife listening to all these horrible stories, and you're one of them. And so like having like that's awful. But she never said, "I told you so." And she's believed in me and given me, a chance to do it again, which I don't know that, I could give somebody a.
So after that happened, she wasn't like, "All right, we're going to play it safe now. We're going to go get a 9-to-5," or was she like, "All right, let's take an easier path"?
So that all happens, and I go back to school. I'm like, there's nothing going on. Like there was no, I didn't have a college degree, right?
Per choice.
Yeah. 100% on me. I didn't have a college degree, and there wasn't like a job that I could go find making the money that I was making when I had my own company at the time when we were making money. Like they didn't exist as far as I could find. I'm networking. I'm talking to my friends. And nobody has anything. And I had a neighbor that lived down the street from me, and because of what was going on with real estate at the time, he's like, "Hey, I got this, this little real estate deal I'm working on. I think we might be able to make some money." So I got this little plan, and his plan was, we go to banks that have these foreclosed properties. We make an offer on the property as low as we possibly can on it, and then we go list it with a realtor, and we try and make as much as we can on the listing. And the whole time we're beating up the bank on the one side, we're trying to sell it for more and then get it closed, because back then they had simultaneous closes. So
you could sell and buy at the same time?
Same time. So one transaction.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to bring money into close on the house, and then sell it. It was just, and then money miraculously showed up in our account.
Yeah.
So we start doing that, and within like 2 months of doing that, the Department of Finance comes out and says, you're not doing that anymore. You have to disclose any offers on the property to the bank, because we're over here on this side.
You're trying to sell it before you owned it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're getting, well, so the owner would, because everyone's walking from their houses at that point, they're signing over the houses to us.
That's right. They have to agree for you to list it. Right. That's true.
So they would sign it over to us. We'd go beat up the bank as much as we could for as, offer them as little as we could. And then we'd hopefully find somebody at the time that had money and wanted to buy a house here in this market. And right after we get started and negotiating with banks at the time, probably still is, it was horrible. I mean, it was nonstop sending fax to them because they wanted, it wasn't just emails. You couldn't send emails. Fax. It was sending faxes to them. And because they wanted the documents, they wanted them signed, and that's how you had to do it. And it was a nightmare. And we finally closed our first deal when they came out and said, you can't do this anymore. And so my wife ends up going and getting a job. She's full-time. I'm like, I got to go to school. I need some money. So I'm going to go get student loans because that's the only way that I'm going to get money. And I got to go back to Boise State.
I remember you at school.
Yeah.
It was like 2008 or 9.
Like The Godfather?
No, I remember for whatever reason, I remember we were trying to get BSU football tickets.
Yeah.
And then I was like, obviously you guys stand up above the crowd. And I was like, oh, there's Renn.
Yeah.
That must have been a tough time to go back to school.
It was. There was nothing else in my life going on that I could think of. Like, and at the time, like, I'm just like beat down.
Yeah.
Right. Like nothing is going right. I've got this huge tax debt. I can't make any money. I need money. And so I go back to Boise State. I take out student loans. And while I'm working for that, right at the very end of that, doing that little real estate deal on the side, a pool company goes in and they need a fence put around their pool park.
So this off Eagle Road.
Yep.
And in the parking lot, they made like three or four. Yeah. Three pools in the park, which is super rare.
Super rare for Boise, Idaho. And you might even say stupid.
Well, I don't think they still use
it.
You might. You might.
It
could
didn't
be
say
said.
I would. But yeah, so this company built 3 large, over the top, nice
Parking lot.
Really nice. Really nice.
that were more made for an Arizona climate.
Okay, I can see that. All right.
And they didn't do well in the freeze-thaw climate that we have here.
Was this a local company or was this a national company that said, oh, hey, there's an opportunity in Boise that came in that didn't know much about?
It was an owner that was had a landscape company in Arizona, as far as I understand it, bought into a pool company with 2 other owners. There were 3 owners at that point. In 2006, everything's taken off and going crazy, and he sells his 3rd after a year of buying.
Oh, okay.
So the other 2 owners end up buying him out. He moves to Boise because that's where his wife was from, somewhere on the western side, the border, Oregon, somewhere, Nissa. And he wants a pool put in at his house, and according to him, there's nobody competent in Boise to do it the way that it should be done. So he starts a pool company. And based on the 1 year of experience he had in Arizona as an owner, and comes to Boise and builds.
So he must have leveraged pretty heavily because there was a large building.
And he owned it.
Off of the busiest road in Idaho. And he owned the building. Pool and patio, I think a barbecue thing. And then he bought, looks like a big portion of the parking lot and put in pools and spas.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. There's nothing like that here in Boise. And to that point, I mean, he did come in and change the market, to his credit. To that point, 9 times out of 10, people were putting in a rectangle pool in their backyard with 3 feet of deck, patio going around the pool, and that was it. And but anyway, so they needed somebody to put a fence in around that pool park, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody that had ended up getting a job there knew that I had done fences. They call me up. I come over, I grab another guy that was there, and we start putting the fence in, I show him how to do it, and the two of us actually physically install that fence around that pool park is what they called it. And the owner saw me out there working. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, who are you?" And I told him, and he happened to know my uncle. And he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for somebody to work here if you're interested in doing something." And it was, a nice new building. The thing's huge. It was amazing for Boise, and I said sure. And so I actually started out. So my first position there was selling hot tubs, and I hate sales.
You don't like sales?
I do not like sales, and I'm not good at sales. And
you're just because? I mean, you seem like a sales oriented person, right? I mean, motivated, excited.
I just don't like the. I just don't like the salesy side of it. I just like, this is what it is. Take it or leave it.
Which isn't the best sales approach sometimes.
Horrible.
Okay, I'm not saying it's not.
It's horrible, right?
Yeah.
But I don't like being sold by somebody else either. So I don't want to sell. I understand the game, right? The sales game. But I don't like being sold. So I don't want to sell somebody else, even though that's how I need to make my income, right? Feed my family. But I don't like that.
That's funny. So people coming in for a spa, you'd be like, "Look, I'm not going to talk to you." Okay.
No.
I'm not.
No. I talk to him.
He just says, "Look, our cost is this.
I'm making this. Are you going to take it? Are you going to take it? We're staring at each other. Are you going to take it?
I got to make money. You need a hot tub.
My kids need to eat.
Yeah.
This is how this works.
I'm not.
I don't need to make a house payment.
No.
His closing line was, "Are we going to do this or not?" That's how we
See, that's surprising though. I always thought you'd be a good salesperson. Maybe reverse psychology would have worked better because you don't want to tell anybody what to do or whatnot.
Maybe. Yeah, but
that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't like the sales side of anything, and I just don't like it. And we don't in my company now. We don't sell.
See, that's fascinating. A big part of owning a company is sales.
Yeah.
And you've owned, I mean, there's a list. Like that's like one of the biggest jobs, and that's never been something you focused on her.
Which is why I have a partner.
There you go. Okay, there you go. Jake.
Not why I have a partner,
right.
but there's things that he does really well,
right.
and there's things that I do okay.
So you're selling spas.
Selling spas, and that wasn't for me. And
how many did you sell? Not many.
I'm gonna go. I only did it for probably 3 months.
But you had some sales.
I'm gonna go 6.
6.
Okay.
6. Yeah.
2 a month.
Yeah. Horrible.
Not setting records.
I mean, you're not salesman of the month.
No. And then I get moved into even better sales and design of swimming pools.
Even better.
I had at that point in my life, I had only been swimming in a swimming pool.
And it's probably above ground.
Probably. Yeah, majority of the pools.
Question. Could you swim in the pools in that parking lot? Like,
Yeah.
would they allow you to do that?
It was pretty, it wasn't real strict, but employees would go out there in the evening and
swim.
Did they have to have lifeguards? I mean, it's a parking lot.
Not for, like, we couldn't invite any friends or
so you
anybody.
couldn't bring your family over.
There were a couple families there.
Right.
Like, you bring your family in, but but the other thing too is, who wants to swim in a parking lot?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for those not watching this or never seen this before, trying to fathom a swimming pool in a parking lot.
But it was lower.
That's what it was.
It was
lower, had a fence around it.
You could park right up to the gate and just stare at
it. It was like
everybody.
your neighborhood community pool, but right by Lowe's.
Right. And that would have been an interesting.
I know firsthand what it's like to be a hippopotamus at a zoo.
Oh, because everybody's staring at you swim.
Yeah, because everyone driving by would stop
making
and look
faces
at
at you.
And,
more like a giraffe. Yeah. More like a giraffe swimming in the thing.
We're going to go hippopotamus.
All right. That is interesting. So people would come in and you would help them design their pool.
Yeah. So
I'm still fascinated by the amount of money this guy put into the business.
Ton. And here's the other thing that's crazy is in that market, he came in and he took the cream of the crop from other industries and businesses because he was the only thing that was up and coming at the time.
Sales?
Yeah,
employees wise.
Yeah, employee wise. He got guys that were running companies. He got guys that were like doing really well in sales at the companies that they were at. And he had the human resource side. I mean, it was amazing.
That's a good point. I do remember that time as it being like, wow, something new is going in.
Yeah.
And not something old is going out all the time.
Right.
That's interesting.
And at the time, like everything was just down. There was nothing. When I say nothing, there was like nothing going on. It was a bad time. And here he comes in, dumping all this money in at the bottom of the market, and hired some really good guys to come and work there. But his managerial side and his as a person didn't gel well with almost everybody in the company. And he liked competition, which I love competition as well, but he'd just throw you in the deep end of the pool and it was up to you whether or not you were going to sink or swim, and he didn't care either way.
So he would fire people if they weren't performing? That type?
He was more of the type of, you need to figure this out on your own because I'm not wasting my time. You're going to make it on the pool construction side and the sales side. It was 100% commission, no base. And it was, but I'm not going to train you how to do it either. Like there's magazines with pictures of pools in it. So, go flip through those magazines and see if there's anything in there that you like. And then you can kind of talk about that with these potential clients that are coming in.
So they would come in and you'd say, I would recommend this type of pool. I mean, did you sell any type of pool, like vinyl or all gunite?
Yeah, they were all shotcrete pools. But we were building anything and everything. Infinity edge pools, freeform pools, which really there weren't too many. There were some, but there weren't too many.
Freeform meaning you would just go dig out a shape.
Yeah,
and shotcrete it.
Meaning you design it. It's not a rectangle.
Yeah,
it's got curves, and you're not going to put a rectangle cover over the top of it, and more of like your the stuff you see in the Sun Belt, Arizona, California, Florida, those types of pools. And so they'd come in and you'd ask them your qualifying questions, right? And I think the other thing that's hard too is you got these. Like someone sitting in my position and a couple of the other sales guys is we're all broke, right? We're all here because we lost jobs from somewhere else. And these guys are coming in and you got to talk to them about a pool that costs, in our minds, which is horrible as a salesperson to think
you sure you want to spend money on this thing? Like can you afford this?
To talk to them about I don't have this money, so you probably don't either. Even though that's horrible to do as a salesperson. Think that person is in the same financial position that you're in.
Yeah,
especially when you're selling a luxury item.
Yeah,
because it's not a necessity. So, I wasn't very good at that, and I'm not creative. Like I'm on the. I'd rather go build it. You design it, I'll go build it, and you be as creative as you want. But I don't want to come up with it. And so I had a short stint in the design side and then quickly got moved into the construction side from there. And at that point, so let's get back. So this is where we're at this with school,
yes,
right?
Now we're here.
We made it all the way back to Boise State. So at this point, I've got a full-time, they're going to move me into as a construction manager, managing all of our in-house resources. I got a salary position, so I'm done with school again. So my one class. If I went and took this one class, I don't know if it still do it now because so much time has passed. But if I took Biz Stats 208, I would have my degree.
So close.
BizStats 208, and my wife is so mad at me
That you didn't finish it.
that I didn't finish it. And
Still?
yeah, if you bring up BizStats 208 to her,
Oh. So you took 207
Yeah.
twice.
twice. You took
I was
207.
taking those same
It
classes
was
like about the
probably
same time.
this
Yeah,
was
about the same
probably
time.
an attendance thing that you didn't pass, right?
No,
Wasn't an attendance.
I wish it was an
So you
attendance
showed up, just didn't study or put in the effort to.
it. Like I just knew that I was never going to have a job or anything in my life where I would ever need to tell anybody the standard deviation of whatever or bell curves or all that stuff that went along with it. So I didn't care. But I also, about this is around that same time too that I don't know if you remember was the show that Trump did?
Oh, The
Apprentice.
Apprentice.
The Apprentice. Do you remember he had Street Smarts versus
College.
college on that? And I wanted so bad. It was about the same time. I don't remember who ended up winning that season, but I wanted so bad for a Street Smarts, and I think it was that ended up winning the show that year. And like for me, as soon as I took that class and passed it, I'm now a college graduate.
You're playing for the other team now.
Yeah, and I did not want.
That's hilarious.
I did not want to be a college graduate. Like I want, even though like I could have gone and taken 10 more years of school, right? But never gotten my degree, and I would have been okay with that. But as soon as I switch over to I'm a college graduate, like in my mind, I'm like, no, I want to go do it without.
Because your whole reason to go to college was to get student loans, not for the education.
100%.
And now, if you get the education, it's like, I didn't go for the money.
That is a fascinating. You know, the problem is too, they probably told you at the start of that class, you're going to need to know this. And you're like, don't tell me what to get out. Get out. No, I do not. Need that.
No, I do not.
What do you know?
So that's fascinating. You had 98% of the
one class.
intellectual that you get,
Yep.
but you're not a college graduate.
No.
Would you take that one class?
Like I've thought about it since, because I want to pass that class, but the second I pass it, I want the challenge of passing the class. But the second I
Don't
pass
give
it,
him the degree. That's the thing, right? Like because now you're a sellout.
right.
What if they gave you an honorary degree? Is that a handout?
Dude, that would be the worst
a
for
handout?
him, dude. You don't want to get anywhere near an honor. Do not give him an honorary degree. That would ruin his life.
Free degree.
All of Renn's success boils down to that college degree.
Yeah.
Because if he takes the class and passes it, that means everything he's accomplished is because he's a college grad.
Yeah. I think you hang on to that because rather than giving in and getting the diploma,
Yeah.
I think in a sense you're also hanging on to this is so you don't.
I want to put that on his tombstone, like college grad.
Because you could say I want
everything college grad.
What I was trying to say is that you want to finish it so you can say you finished it. But if you do, right, you didn't finish the one thing that you wanted. So it's kind of choosing which one you want to finish. And I think
I'm good where I'm at.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard that, like in my life, that you're just like, you're okay to go through with the workout, the hard stuff, but do not give me the reward that will change my life. You know what I mean?
In my mind, it's not a reward. In my mind, that
The punishment.
Yeah, in my mind, that puts me on the team I don't want to be on.
You showed them.
Yeah.
You know,
I stuck it to them.
You really gave. Dude, they feel horrible.
They should.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You paid them for all the work,
Hey,
and then they didn't have to fulfill it.
do you still get alumni emails hitting you up for money? Because if you didn't graduate,
Is
do
he
they?
an alum?
Yeah. You think they would because they take money
There's
from
just
anybody.
some issues there.
They don't.
There's
Ren doesn't
there's
even,
wisdom in that.
Ren doesn't even live in Idaho anymore. Teaser. So you didn't end up liking. What was the name of this pool company?
Pristine Pool and Spas.
They didn't make it, or are they still going?
They're
I don't think they made it.
They didn't last too much longer after not because of me, but
Right.
about that time things were the owner ended up getting brain cancer. And as far as I understand, he's in remission and healthy, and he's moved and he's in Arizona with his family. But yeah, it was just it was not a good place. It was not a good work environment for most people there.
I wonder if that could have made it, because timing wise came into the bottom of the market. I mean, he dumped a lot of money into it from what it appeared.
If he would have got out of the way and let the people that he hired do what he hired them to do, they would still be there.
Really?
And they'd be dominating.
They'd be the biggest.
So he told everybody just to figure it out, but he wouldn't leave it at that.
No, he was not there to help you succeed at your job. He was there to I don't know why he was there. No, he was there.
Impede your job.
Like, yeah, he had his own agenda on, like, he would compete as an owner with the sales and designers, because he'd have these clients in his back pocket, and instead of giving them to salesmen that are looking for leads and trying to find leads, he would keep them, sell it, design it, have that relationship with that client, which usually leads to more jobs. And he would keep it and then compete against.
Because he wouldn't want to pay you guys the commission or something?
100%.
Oh, ouch.
That and then he would come in, because they were his clients, he wants them to get the best treatment. So he would come in and like, I was in, like, at the time when I finally, like, I'm done, I was in charge of moving our resources around to accomplish getting these jobs done. And he would come in day before, 2 days before, I need this on my job. Because he would like, I'm running my own jobs. I'm doing my own thing. Don't run my jobs for me. Great. But then he'd come in and take everything that I needed to be able to do the jobs for everybody else. And it was just I mean, I learned so much from that, and the way we do things now too, though, is it's been a big help. So then
you left. You and Jake were.
Yep. So Jake continued to do sales there.
Okay.
He was doing sales and design. He's got a real estate development background and did really well in that for a while, until it all crashed and we both landed there. And then we both got to the point, along with almost everybody else in the company, that we're like I cannot do this anymore. Like, the pain was so bad that even though I had, I went from not having anything, right, to having a job and a salary job that paid the bills. I wasn't getting ahead in life, but I was treading water. Like, it was so bad that I'm like, I'm going back to
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That must have been bad. Well, that's one of the things I said that will make you start an own company, right? Hate your job so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So did you must have liked pools. You must have liked or enjoyed that process.
I like building things, right? Yeah. Going back to with my dad, whether it's a house, whether it's a pool, whether it's, whatever it is, I like building. And so I enjoyed, and I didn't know anything about how to build a swimming pool and what makes a, like construction techniques that make that pool better than this pool, and why that one's going to last and why this one won't, and what you can do to make it so that one does last. And I like that side of it. But it was so painful. And at the same time too, like, going back to, I make a terrible employee. Like, that whole time I wanted to be doing my own thing, but like, it's hard to take that leap when the last time you did, you landed on your face. And then how do I talk my wife into doing it a second time? And that's only, that was only 5 years between bankruptcy and wanting to do something on my own again.
I think 5 years, isn't that like the time frame of when the bankruptcy needs to, like, age to? So
7.
where are you? Oh, is it 7? Okay, so I mean, that must have been, I don't know, presented some challenges.
It did. Jake and I didn't. So we left, and Jake had a non-compete, right?
Right.
I didn't have a non-compete. I had a non-compete. They told me I had a non-compete. I don't remember signing a non-compete. I asked them to produce it. They never produced it to me. Jake had a non-compete. So, yeah, but at the same time, Jake's like, I'm like we'd been beat up so bad at that company that we're like, we don't ever want to do anything with pools ever again. We're out. He got a good job doing healthcare recruiting, except he had to travel. He didn't like to travel, so he was out doing that. I went and I worked for another guy that had also left the pool company, who was recruited from Arizona. He moved his whole family up here to work, and he ended up leaving and going out on his own. But he had never built pools. He only ran the service and maintenance side. Okay. So I knew how to build them. So the two of us end up getting together, and we start doing the maintenance side and the construction side on pools. And we did that for about a year, but it wasn't really going the way that I wanted it to go. I didn't want to do the maintenance side, taking care of pools, cleaning pools, water chemistry, that type of stuff. And Jake and I, so we actually built Coach Harson's pool at his house before he left.
At Pristine?
No. So me and my new partner,
okay,
not
gotcha.
Jake, but I called up Jake because I'm not a designer, right? I'm like, hey, design wise, I'm in over my head. We want to do something cool in this thing. Will you come in and design it for us, for me and my other business partner on this other deal? And he said, yeah, and he came in, designed it, and we started working together a little bit on that project. And he calls me up, and he said, hey, I like knowing what we know and learning what we've learned, I think we could go make a run at this. But in order to do it, we need to go down to Utah. And
just for the market base,
it's the pond is so much bigger.
Yeah.
And that company that, the Pristine that we worked for, everybody left and ended up starting their own thing. So there's 5 new companies in this small-ish market. And so I got a call one night from going back to the whole mission thing that I didn't see coming, from one of my buddies that said, hey, my business partner wants to build a pool in Bountiful. Will you come build it? And sure, the whole Richard Branson, if somebody offers you, a great opportunity, always say yes and figure out how to do it later. Yeah. And so we're like, yeah, so this is going to be our first. Jake and I started the company, first project together. We meet with them numerous times. It's up in Bountiful, Utah, up on the hill. And it was more complex project than I had ever been involved with. Same techniques, but there was just stuff that was like, it was hillside. It was nuts. And Jake designs it. We get that project built. He's able to go back in and tap. So Pristine, I should back up a little bit. Pristine tried to build down there in Utah as well. And Jake went down there to open up the Utah market for Pristine. And Pristine fell on its face down there. It was bad and burned a lot of people, subs, and everybody loved Jake. Everybody loves Jake. Jake's the nicest guy in the world. And he felt awful, but there was nothing he could do about it. It wasn't his company. And so he said, I know I can go back down there and turn that market on if we can go down there and perform. So we end up building this project, and we bring in a couple of different subs, and we're able to get some traction going there.
Is this 2014?
That is 2014. The very first project we ever built. And while we're building that project, less than a mile away, the whole hillside collapses.
When you're meeting with this guy, is he like, what pools have you built before? Are you like worried that he's going to ask like that it's over your head?
Like Jake is like, so this is where the salesman side comes in, right?
Confidence, right?
Yeah. Jake's dealt with high net worth people is pretty much his whole life. And so for Jake, it was like us talking. It wasn't anything.
But he's just saying, yes, yep, we can do it. Yep, totally.
Yeah. Jake's, we can do it.
Yeah.
And he's throwing out numbers that I'm like, those are some big numbers. And it wasn't enough, come to find out.
Oh, shoot.
which is,
yeah.
We're starting out and we don't know everything. But yeah, Jake, like if that would have been me, I would have walked out of that room without having sold that pool. Like Jake handles and is so good at that.
He's probably confident because he's like, well, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he can do it. Like, Renn can do it. Like,
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, I can't do that.
yeah.
But I mean, he can sell,
Yeah.
and you've got to be able to sell, and you've got to be able to tell the story. And he did, and we end up building this pool down there, and ends up, taking off. He moves down there, and I stay in Idaho, and we've got.
Are you traveling back and forth?
In the beginning, Jake and I are traveling nonstop. We would drive to Utah for meetings. We'd leave at 5 a.m.
Ugh.
Go down for meetings or check on sites, construction, whatever, and drive back the same day.
Oof.
And then it got to the point where once construction was going on, I was running projects down there. Jake would sell it, I would run it. He'd fill in where he could. I'd fill in when he wasn't there, and it was rough. It was rough, but yeah, we traveled back and forth for about a year, I want to say, a little over a year.
And then you moved?
I moved about 2 years, a year and a half ago.
Okay. So I don't understand that math. So you traveled there, and then you just got to the point where you had enough pools in Idaho, and you had people you could trust in Utah?
So we had Jake's wife. It was my wife too. They were both just tired of us traveling. She's
Right.
like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so they end up moving down to Utah. I'm still in Idaho. Jake's running Utah, and I'm trying to run Idaho, bigger market in Utah.
Yeah.
It was tough because we were apart. I like a marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like living apart and traveling, and Jake has things that he's good at, and I have things that I'm good at, and it really put a strain on our business relationship. I mean, there were a couple times where we were on the phone. Like, Jake and I are good friends. We travel together. We do. I mean, but there were times where I can remember one time we were on the phone literally screaming at each other over something that he did or something that I did. And it was just like, because he couldn't control things here in Idaho, and I couldn't control things there, and I would have done this and he would have done that, and it was just tough. And it basically got to the point, without Jake ever saying it, like, you either need to come down to Utah or sell me your half. You can keep Idaho, I'll take. We never had that conversation, but I think we could both see that that's where it was heading. And we were running on probably 2 cylinders, right? It was not good. And it was rough, and our processes were horrible. We got to the point where we're like, do we want to keep doing this? Like, that's how we weren't making enough money. We were making money, but we weren't making enough money for the pain that it was to do it. And that all changed started to change before I went down there. I knew, like, I'm the thing that works well with Jake and I. Jake is the creative, the designer, I'm going to push the envelope, and we're going to go do these things. And I'm great. You go push it, you go do it, and let me figure out how it is that we're going to do those things now that you've gone and said we're going to do them, or you've sold it, or you've designed it, or whatever. You're the creative one. But I'm more like, I'm just black and white. Let me take that thing that you've now put on a plan that's black and white, and let me go build it. And so we needed to be back together and working together and pulling in the same direction. And we just got to a point where, like, we're both like, we need help in this thing. It's going, and we're bumping down the road, but we're not moving very fast, and we're not efficient. And so we got lucky. A friend of mine lost his job. He worked for HP since he got out of college.
Ooh.
So he's my father-in-law, right?
Okay.
He's been there forever.
Yeah.
Gets laid off during COVID. And he was a project manager for him, managed teams all over the U.S. And I happened to call him up one day to go to lunch, just out of the blue, nothing business related, but just as a friend, we're just going to go to lunch. And he tells me that he gets laid off. And I'm like, we need somebody like you in our company. And I can't pay you what you were making as leading teams all over the world as a project manager for HP. But what if we put you on contract for, I think it was a 3-month deal. You come in and you analyze my company because you're a process guy, and we need processes in this company. We actually started working on it before we found him, and it was called. We actually have everything up on a board. We had it all in spreadsheets, and it was called Operation Ghost. Get our together, and everybody and our management team was all like, everybody was just kind of miserable. Like we just we couldn't get, like it's because we don't have processes. Everyone's trying to do their best, but we're not all on the same team. We hire this guy, bring him in, and he does nothing but put processes in place and holds everybody accountable in that first 30 days or that first 3 months. And we just prioritized what we wanted him to tackle. Like, we need this done first, and he'd come in and tackle that. Now we need this done. And because he's come in and done that, we're a completely different company. And after that, we hit that 3-month mark, and we said, "Do you want to come on? We need this full time," because that was just the Infinity pools. We still had Renew Pool Plastering. We've got these other couple companies that are lagging behind, but Infinity Pools was really the one that was, that we were all relying on to pay our salaries. And so he came in and he got us all lined out. It's amazing the way I even back then when we first hired him, I was still on job sites. I knew clients. I knew what was going on. And fast forward a year and a half-ish later, I'm in meetings all day.
Yeah.
And I didn't, when I started my company, I didn't sign up to be in meetings all day, right? I wanted to go build things. And it's been a bit of an adjustment. Like a couple months ago, my wife's like, "Are you guys really slow?" She's nervous. You guys really slow. Yeah. I'm like, "No, we're busier than we've ever been. We're growing like crazy." I'm like, "Why would you ask me if we're slow?" And she's like, "Because you're home a lot."
Yeah. You don't have calluses on your hands anymore.
0. And it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been fun to grow it. And it also hurts a little bit because I've reached a point, kind of like when your kids get to the point where they don't need you anymore. I'm starting to get the feeling that my companies don't need me anymore. And it's a weird spot to be in. They're 90% of it is they're running themselves now. Yeah. And our Chris Johnson, who runs construction for us, runs everything. He'll come to me with a problem, and he'll come to a problem and say, "This is what I think we should do." And it's always he's gotten to the point where he comes to me for advice, but he already knows what his answer is, which is also awesome to see from where he was when he started to where he is now in the company. And it's tough to not feel as needed and to stay motivated.
Yeah. Few questions.
Yes.
Incredible story so far. Really, really love the path that you've gone down, Renn. I have a few questions for you. Looking, into the future, where do you want to take Infinity Pools? Do you want your kids to take over? You want to grow it and sell it? You want it to be a lasting legacy? I mean, what's your plan?
That's a great question. My son's working there now. He's got a job and he's doing well at it. But at the same time, I would never hand the company over to him or promote him to something that he hasn't earned, because of what it would do to other employees. Just because I would never give it to him because he's my son. But at the same time, I'm not seeing a lot, and he's young, but right now I'm not seeing a lot of like drive to like, that's what he wants to do. Yeah. So we haven't really had that conversation. It's like, you know, everybody says build, I don't know if everybody, but a lot of entrepreneurs will say, you know, build a company to sell it. And if you don't, if you've just created a job for yourself, then you've just created a job for yourself. And so it should be something that you should be able to sell or walk away from or be.
I mean, you're still fairly young, though. I mean, you have another 15 or 20 years left.
I am, and
he's a young grandpa.
He's a young grandpa.
I'm a young grandpa.
I don't see a lot of gray hairs yet. So, in fact, you have more gray hairs than he does. So,
but he also has more hair than I do.
Okay, yeah. So give and take.
So, yeah, it's
undecided.
Yeah, it's tough because we've been approached and we haven't pursued it. And it's nothing that my business partner and I, or if one of us wanted out, right? Like, what am I going to go do? We've recently just expanded down into the St. George market, and so that'll kick off this year. Trying to get more market share. That's on our plaster company side, not the construction side. It'll probably roll into that. But at the same time, like I got to keep doing something. Like I can't just not work. I'm not at that age yet where I'm ready to golf and sit around and not do anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll be curious to see where you end up going with that. Another topic, a big topic of debate.
Yes.
Partners.
Yeah.
And you've had a big experience. I mean, most of the companies you've been a part of have been with a partner. I mean, give us your advice on that. I mean, what would you advise somebody that's like, I want to go into this on my own versus bring on a partner?
I think once you have what it is that you want to do, I think you've got to be honest with yourself of the things that you're good at and the things that you're willing to take on and do in the beginning while you're getting your company up and running. And you're probably going to have to do a bunch of things that you're not good at, that just come with starting a company. But know that you're either that you're going to have to hire somebody, more than likely, depending on what the company is or the size of the company. But you're going to have to hire somebody to do those things, whether it's outsourcing or an employee, to come in and do those things that you are not good at. You can't spend your time working on the things that you're not good at and neglect the things that you are good at or the things that would take your company, your business to the next level. So for me, with a partner, I know what I'm not good at, and I know the things that I'm okay at. And I think that's my back to the fence company. Did I need a partner to start that? Probably not, but it was safer to have a partner to share some of their responsibility and liability. This time to start it, I 100% needed a partner to go do this. And I think the things that I don't do well, he does really well, and vice versa. I think we've got a good relationship of and we have a lot of, like, we kind of have, like, the pool plaster side, that's kind of his baby. He spun off and started that up and got that up and running, and he kind of took that on. And I've stayed on the Infinity Pools construction side, and I run that. And when there's meetings on both companies, he's kind of in charge in those meetings, and I'm in charge in the other ones. And so we've just naturally taken on roles and responsibilities that we're good at and that we like to do. And it's worked out well for us. It's a lot like a marriage. And if you think you can go it alone and you're honest with yourself and think you can do it, I would would probably recommend going that route. There's no reason to bring on another partner and another partner's wife if he has a wife and family. There's so many things that come in with bringing on a partner or multiple partners that you don't know is going to be a problem until it's a problem. So my advice was if you can do it, whatever that thing is that you think you can do or want to do it. If you can do it alone, do it alone. If you need a partner, get a partner.
Pretty straightforward.
There you go.
Last question I have for you. Somebody's coming out of college.
Yep.
Not all the way graduated.
Like how many
Obviously.
credits
Yeah.
shy?
Where
of
we at?
graduating?
We're talking 3 credits shy.
Like
Okay,
3 credits.
we're very close.
Okay.
And they're saying, I want to do what Renn did. I want to be like Renn. Or I want to be as successful as Renn. I mean, what advice do you give them?
First, he asked, "What are you doing in college?"
Yeah.
They say, okay, obviously you're not going to graduate, right? And if you
Like,
graduated,
let's get that
okay,
straight.
then that's a mark against you.
Yeah, let's start there. I think that being an entrepreneur lately with social media has become sexy. Like everybody, like this is what you need to go do now. Don't go work for somebody. You need to be an entrepreneur, and they're not. A lot of the entrepreneurs on there, if you get down to it, I don't think really are entrepreneurs. They have a nice Instagram, social media, whatever page that it's their highlight reel that makes people think that what they're doing is, nice and easy, and they've got more money than they know what to do with. And I would like I should probably, go back and recreate my sitting in bankruptcy court and not making a house payment for 4 years and almost losing my house. And like, this is actually what could happen from, not that this is going to happen, but do you have the stomach to take this happening? Because if you don't, then you may not want to take this career path.
If somebody would have presented that scenario to you before you went into the fencing, would you have taken it? I mean, I'm not sure how many people would say that I have the stomach. I don't know that I have the stomach to go through what you went through.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would either. But I think that, like, I didn't really take that whole thing into like the whole. I'd never lost at that point in life, right? I was young. I was dumb, and so to think that it was possible that I could lose, like that didn't even cross my mind. And I think it's even worse now that you've got these guys on social media that are entrepreneurs that who knows what they really do, whether they are or they aren't, but on social media they are, and they're telling all these people and showing all these kids that this is the lifestyle. And that's the tip of the iceberg. That's what, that you're liking it to or equating it to, but that's not what it is. It's the are you willing to go 3 days, 4 days, 5 days in a row to get a project done and not seeing your wife and kids in the morning, not seeing them at night before they go to bed, and I'm out of money, having to go to your family to borrow money to make payroll. Been there, and it's like all those things. Like there are so many hard things, but at the same time, on the other side, it's just as rewarding. And if you can handle what could go wrong and know that that's real and there, the upside is great. The freedom, the time that you get back. That's for me. It's all about time, right? I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it with the people I want to do it with, and not having I can't go to my kids' program or whatever it is because I've got to be at work from 9 to 5. I can't take you to practice because I got this 9 to 5 that I got to go do. And I'm not saying that people that have 9 to 5s are like that. I've had 9 to 5s. I've done 9 to 5s. I get it, and there's reward and in that as well, and a good income. So nothing against that either, but if for me, it just wasn't for me. And I got great employees that work for us, and they're great people, and they do great work, and they're happy with what they do. And I love the team and the people we get to work with as well.
Awesome.
So Infinity Pools is the name of the company. Pretty awesome projects you guys are doing down in Utah. I mean, we're not just talking about, like you said before, your rectangular pool that, has whatever around it. Big custom stuff, water slides. I mean, talk a little bit about maybe the cool stuff that Jake is designing or whoever is designing it. But maybe brag a little bit about what you guys do and kind of the market you appeal to.
We've positioned ourselves to be a high-end boutique custom pool builder. We've gotten to the point where when you look at our work and what we do, we want you to be able to tell if you can afford what we do before you call us up and ask us to come out and give you a bid on your whatever that pool project is. And
so you're looking down on them before.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Still no. Still looking up.
No.
All right.
Still looking up. They're hiring us.
Okay.
To do that.
Okay.
No, but we've worked on incredible projects, and that's one of the because of the projects that because of what we do, we're able to meet and get to know some people that you normally wouldn't get to meet in life, high income, successful, and a lot of them, as long as we're not dealing with owners reps on the projects, are pretty open about advice. And we've done partnerships outside of pools, investment opportunities that come from that. And but some of the projects we like. I don't know if too many people are familiar with the Amangiri Resort in Arizona. Mm-mm. So if you go Google it, it's in Page, Arizona. Anybody who's anybody goes and stays in this.
You haven't been there, Brandon?
I've been to Page. I've been to Page a lot of times.
You're not any.
Oh, wait. This is the one that's like 6,000 a night.
I think it's 8 now.
8,000 a night.
Yeah.
8,000
so that's
a night.
just outside of Page.
Just outside of Page, in the middle of nowhere. Like
right.
Nobody knows it's there.
And the only reason I found that is because I went to Lake Powell, and I was like searching hotels, and it was like 159, 150, and then it was like 6,000. I was like, wait a minute, click. What is that?
Yes.
And you built one of their pools.
So we're in the process right now of signing a 10-year contract with them. They're building. I think it is. I don't remember the number, but they're building personal residences there now. Right now it's a resort. We have refinished. So they already had pools that were built there originally, and our company has gone in and resurfaced. So we demo the inside of it out, come in and put down new PebbleTech surface on them. And because we did that, our construction side is now been able to talk with them, and we have it's all but signed. All the meetings are been had, and we're done. And it's a 10-year contract of I can't remember how many. I think it's 10 pools that we will build on these residences over the next 10 years. That are, I mean if you're spending $8,000 a night to stay at one of their rooms that they have there, the house. I mean, I don't know what the house price is.
So you're not trading services?
No,
that's
not trading services.
Wow,
you can't get me and Brandon in.
Like, you can come.
Well,
down,
maybe after the pod we can
$80
talk
a
about
night.
that.
you can come down there with us and take
I would
a
love
tour
to,
of it, because you can't get into it without.
Is
knowing
that
somebody.
accessible to me? To like, can I book a night there?
Yeah, I think anybody can book a night there. I don't know why anybody can, but like if you get on there and you look at their, like, Bieber was just there, the Kardashians go there.
So you're rubbing shoulders.
No.
No, he hangs out with these people on the daily.
No, you're not allowed to make eye contact with any of the guests there. So I'm still.
So you're not even looking up. You're staring straight
Head
down. That's awesome. Do you have any other questions?
No, all my notes. We got everything covered. Yeah.
Renn, that was awesome. Really great story. I was looking forward to having you on for a really long time. How can we reach out to you, or how can we find out more about your company? Infinity Pools.
InfinityPoolDesign.com.
InfinityPoolDesign.com.
Yep.
Search Infinity Pools on what? Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, all of them.
All the social medias.
Even TikTok.
Okay.
A little bit of TikTok out there.
That wouldn't be my first place I'd go to find this, but
Well, you could see a list or I'm sure their history of incredible pools that they've done. Renn, Lamm, Infinity Pools, InfinityPoolsDesign.com. Check them out. Really appreciate Renn being a part of the show. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Founders Podcast. Be sure to follow the host on Twitter. Search @JordB Hansen and @BrandonMinert to discuss more. Also, be sure to visit thefounderspod.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content.